And welcome to the pre-show. Good to have you here tonight. We go live on the radio at 3 minutes after the top of the hour for those of you new here and who have not heard that said before. And so, well, hey, Kat. I see Kat just popped into the room. Haven't seen you for a while. Good to have you here. I've seen a couple of your posts, however, on Facebook. So it's nice to see you here. Here's Anita Palmer again. She says, third time should be the charm. Hi, Steve and Kat. Hopefully you're in, Anita. Sorry, I'm eating fruit snacks. There you go. Fruit snacks. The quick picker-upper. So let's see. Our stream is set. Our soundboard is set. I think we are set to roll. Just got home from riding 9 miles of gravel. Oofta. On a motorcycle or a horse? Hey, Elvis. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Come in hot, smashing the like button. I think I'll do that myself. I'll smash the like button. Yeah, if you're here and you like the show, guys, if you're a regular listener, hit the like button. Helps our algorithms. So there you go. Appreciate it. Hey, Randall. It's Steve Clark. I didn't say hi to you right away. How you doing, brother? How's things out in Kansas? So look at that. We've got 1 minute left till we go live on air. And everything's all set up. Knock on wood. I didn't make any mistakes. Hey, Carlene, you have our trip to Virginia Beach in the plans. Outstanding. I've been to Virginia Beach once. Rainey and I were there in 2007, visiting friends in Lynchburg. And we swung up to Virginia Beach. We went to Colonial Williamsburg and all kinds of places up there. We're going to go dark, folks. We'll be right back. Sit tight.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey, folks. Happy Wednesday evening. Welcome to the program. I'm Scotty Roberts, your host. And this here is the Intrepid radio broadcast. You can hear it live on radio over at subspace.radio, odysseyradio.com. And you can come over to the Facebook page and here on the YouTube channel to join the best version of our chat room. Go to youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. You can hit the subscribe button when you're there and also hit the join button, and you can see how you might be able to contribute to helping this show stay on above the waterline. And so, boy, that sounds kind of, people say that, help us stay above the waterline. Just help us exist, keep our bills paid, the lights on, stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there you go. You have that opportunity. Show, of course, doesn't cost you a thing every night of the week. This is just a thing where you can donate $1, $5, or $15 a month to this cause right here. And what's $15 a month anymore? A carton of eggs? Thank you. I did that, said Joe Biden. Now, can we blame everything that's going on in our financial lives? Excuse me. Wow. As I was telling the pre-show people, I just ate a couple of packs of fruit snacks. And as we were coming on, I was just finishing chewing and I had to swallow like a wad of strawberry fruit snack very quickly. So I got a little hiccups going on. So anyway, how's that for great radio presence? Welcome to everybody who's here. But all the problems we're having financially, everybody's hurting. Everything costs more. Inflation it's not up again, but as Joe Biden said in an interview recently, he said, our president said, well, come on. He says, it's only really gone up about an inch, he says, inflation. He says it's been at 8.3, and it hasn't gone up for the last several months. And he says, so I think we're doing okay. Well, what drove them up to 8.3 is the highest it's been in 45 years. So that's interesting. Jobs, can all of that be blamed on the Biden administration? What built us up to that point? I don't think it was the previous administration. So, yes, I think you can look at the Biden administration and say, you guys have caused an awful lot of financial problems in this country. And where they say that I'm doing this we're shooting from the hip tonight on this because this wasn't my topic. So I didn't look up any numbers or anything. But like when the Biden administration says we have the greatest growth in jobs in X number of years, well, all those jobs were, as many of you probably heard over and over again by now, the great job growth under the Biden administration is people going back to the jobs that the Biden administration shut down during COVID. So we haven't gained anything new. We're reclaiming ground, and they're claiming that gap. It went down in jobs, and now it's gone back up, people getting rehired. But that gap in the middle there, that isn't new jobs. That isn't anything to boast about. That's just getting back to normal. So there that is. I don't know how I got off on that other than I said something and I thought I had to qualify what I said. Tonight we're going to talk about American culture. We talked about American culture last week, that we are a melting pot, the e pluribus unum. We are an amalgam of all the different cultures that have come here. Do we have an original culture of our own? We've developed an original culture of our own, and it's a culture of a melting pot of bringing everybody together, and American culture comes out of that. We're only 246 years old. And so we don't have a lengthy look at Israel today. Today, Israel celebrated its 75th year as a new nation and as a state, the state of Israel, from the UN, the vote in the UN to recognize their statehood back in 1949. So was it 49 or 48? It was 48. And so they've been in existence for a lot longer than that. But as a nation, a new nation rebuilt, 75 years. So they're a young country, but they're one of those young countries that has a hell of a lot of deep history. So that's a fascinating historical study all by itself. So happy birthday, Israel. And talking about our culture, though, is our culture, despite what we say positive about it, is our culture devolving? And that's the question I wanted to ask tonight. The devolution of American culture. And is it devolving? And there's a couple of stories that brought this to my attention. Dan Madsen sent me an article earlier today, and I posted it on my Facebook, and it really prompted me to want to talk about this. And that article was about the 673. Where is it? I've got it right here. The exact numbers and so on. Did I close that tab? Interesting. I thought I just had that open. So it's about the 673 professors that have in North Carolina that are bucking the new law that has been made there, and the new law or that has been voted on, and they don't want it to be there. And that law states that, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, that law states that I must have closed the window on myself. That's weird. I don't recall doing that. But that law states that here, let's just get into it, and I'll tell you all about it. There's 673 university professors have signed a letter opposing courses on, and this is what led me to ask the question, are we a devolving society or a devolving culture? What do you suppose that they're all up in arms about? They want to oppose courses on America's founding and on the Constitution in North Carolina universities. And there's UNC professor, University of North Carolina, say that requiring courses on American history violates academic freedom. Let that sink in for a second. You've got the professors in major universities that are saying that teaching American history violates academic freedom, requiring it. Now, I ask you a quick question. Are we in the United States or not? Are we an America? Are we America? Are we the United States of America? Why should teaching our history in schools as a requirement be something that anybody who is a citizen of this country has a problem with? Hundreds of professors at the University of North Carolina signed a public letter opposing, this was just yesterday, opposing legislation that would require university students to take courses on America's government and on our founding documents. The 673 UNC Chapel Hill professors revealed the public letter on Tuesday, arguing the new courses and another bill in North Carolina House of Representatives would constitute an infringement on the university's academic freedom. Academic freedom of the university is being jeopardized by these two laws. Now, what, you may ask, are these two laws all about? What do they state? Well, the first piece of legislation, it's House Bill 96, would require students to take listen to this, students of the university would be required to take a 3-credit-hour course covering America's founding and history, only 3 credit hours. And required reading for the course would include the U.S. Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Emancipation Proclamation, and at least 5 essays from the Federalist Papers, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail, and the Gettysburg Address. These are some of the required curriculum. And the professors argue that the legislation violates core principles of academic freedom and substitutes ideological force-feeding for the intellectual expertise of faculty. So they're saying you can't teach that. It takes away our ideological force-feeding, and it detracts from the intellectual expertise of the staff. It violates core principles of academic freedom. Now, do you agree with those statements? Is a required course on American history, our founding documents, the Constitution, which every law in the United States hinges upon, our rights hinge upon the Constitution, the freedom of our rights, can you see that as being something that is a good thing to happen on a university level? So I'm looking at the chat room and wondering if some of the comments here are for this or something else. Free into our mortgages might be something else. So let me move on with this. So the second bill is HB 715, and that's going to eliminate tenure at UNC and its affiliated campuses. establish a minimum class size, and require colleges to report all non-instructional research performed by higher education personnel at the institution. So the 673 professors decry both bills as an attack on expertise, quote unquote. And they argue that the American government courses constitute little more than indoctrination. So get this, you go to the University of North Carolina, NCU, and you have to take a course that's a required course in your basics. No matter what you're majoring in or minoring in, you've always got usually that first year of your basic prerequisites to get out of the way. They're now making by law stating that you have to have these government courses. Government as a descriptor, like civics, using that as a descriptor. Courses on the founding of our country, understanding the founders, understanding what they wrote. You've got to, they're going to be reading the Constitution as a requirement. Why would that be a bad thing for anybody who is a citizen of the country? Now, you might argue, maybe some of them argue, well, we've got some people here that are foreign students and are not members of this country who will, in theory, go back home once they finish their education. But I don't think when you've got a university that is in the United States, predominantly citizens of the United States attending, why would somebody want to fight a required course on United States history and United States civics and understanding our laws? Kat says, Nebraska in the chat room, Nebraska attempted to limit the pay of school superintendents to 5 times the amount of pay of their district's lowest paid teacher, or to 5 times the pay of their district's lowest paid teacher. Every school superintendent in the state had a collective stroke, I'll bet. Rainey was just telling me the other day, here in our own little Somerset, Wisconsin, we have our public school system here. And they had to, very recently, they had to let go, like in the last week, they had it's either happening this year or they're not going to be rehired next year. Because there's only a month of school left before summer, technically. But they let go among several teachers. They let go the art teacher because they couldn't afford to keep the art teacher anymore. And Rainey was giving me some of the salaries for the Somerset. Basically, it's not the people living in Somerset aren't farmers, but we're in a farming area. We're a small city, small town, village within the farming community here. And there's plenty of people that live here. It's very populated. But the school system has, I'm trying to think, and I'm looking off to my right. I'm just thinking. I'm trying to remember the number that Rainey gave me. It was something like the average pay for a teacher in this school district, the average now. So that would include the high paid against the low paid. And then you take and you get your average, was something like $65,000 to $70,000 a year. And many are making 6 figures, but some are making, the low 40s and things like that. I might imagine that those might be teaching assistants. Now, anybody from Somerset who might be listening, don't go ape shit if I got that wrong. That's kind of where the numbers were at. I'm not quoting the exact numbers. And so here in our own state, our own little town, we're experiencing what Kat was talking about. That they had a law that says a superintendent can make no more than 5 times the amount of pay of their district's lowest paid teacher. What if your lowest paid teacher is $40,000 a year? 5 times that is what? $200,000. And I think $200,000 a year to be a school administrator ain't bad pay. Just my opinion. First year teachers in my district, says Kat, make $34,500. So the superintendent, the grade school principal, and the high school principal each make over $200,000. So there are only 400 kids in the entire district. Holy crap. You look at that is 200,000 times just those three people. That's 600,000. That's over $500,000 a year. See, I went to school. I can add that in my head pretty quick. For a town of for a school district of 400 students, that's pretty steep pay. Where does that money come from? Your taxes. So, yeah, that's a big wow, isn't it, Randall Flagg? Man, I look at that and I go, wow, that's crazy. Anita Palmer says, I agree, Susie. I worked in the school system and tell people to homeschool. We thought about it here. We thought about homeschooling, but we're busy enough around here during the day, just keeping our heads above the waterline. There's that phrase again. And I couldn't imagine adding to it educating my kids, although I could do it. We could educate our kids at home. They'd probably get better educated, even though we have a pretty good school system here in Somerset. So, moving on with this situation in North Carolina, I ended with, up to this point, with the 673 professors decry both these bills as a tax on expertise, arguing that the American government courses constitute little more than indoctrination. And I would say indoctrination into what? Indoctrination into understanding how your government works, understanding why this nation was founded. Were they talking about political ideology here, or are they talking about just teaching the facts about where we came from, why we're here, what our founders did, the documents that they created, and studying those? Yet you got professors saying that this is nothing more than indoctrination. And I say indoctrination into what? Our leaders continue to disregard campus autonomy. So says a spokesman from there. They attack the expertise and the independence of world-class faculty, and they seek to force students' educations into pre-approved ideological containers. This is what the letter reads. That was a quote from the letter. We must protect the principles of academic freedom and shared governance, which have long made the University of North Carolina a leader in public education. And so if enacted, we believe that these measures, these two laws I just told you about, will further damage the reputation of the University of North Carolina, UNC, and the state of North Carolina, and will likely bring critical scrutiny from accrediting agencies that no undue interference in university affairs when they see it. That's how the letter went on. So HB 96 passed through the North Carolina House of Representatives in March, and it's now making its way through to the state Senate. Now, that is the argument that they're using against having this bill put into place, this required course in the universities. They're saying it's, do you believe that is what you would call indoctrination? Is that forcing something on students that they shouldn't have? Is that undermining the expertise of professors? What do they mean by that, by the way? Dissect that for a second. If you are under state law at a state university that says you must teach about the founders, the founding documents, the Constitution, all of that, founding of our nation, American history, and make it a required course, How does that steal away the expertise of a professor? That's, as I read earlier, the expertise of a professor to interpret and present what they want to present. Well, that's because teachers, are you supposed to be interpreting those things? I know some of that is necessary. Or are you supposed to teach the facts? Just the facts, reading, writing, arithmetic. It's a little different in university. Is learning about the country an elective? I don't think it should be. I think our nation is, the devolution I'm talking about is that you could go out on the street with a microphone and ask people questions about the Constitution. Ask them questions about the founders. Ask them questions about the creation of this nation. And they're not going to know the answers. Is it a lack of knowledge of these things that lead the newer generations coming up into being ignorant of what their country is all about? When I mentioned last year sometime that there was somebody I was talking to, and I recently re-referenced this, about the whole abortion leak, the abortion legislation coming down from the Supreme Court. And this person was decrying the action that the Supreme Court was saying they were going to be taking. And I said, well, Constitution, and she was talking about our abortion rights are being killed. There is no more abortion rights in America, rights over my body and all of this and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, the Supreme Court isn't doing any of that. Isn't the Supreme Court just telling you that you have to, that Roe v. Wade, the decision for abortion, should be taken out of the federal control? It's not a federal issue, and put back to the states. I said, that's all it's doing. And her response was, well, I don't care about the Constitution. She says, as far as I'm concerned, the Constitution should be abolished. And I was like, what? I said, you're a pushing 40-year-old person. I call her a young person because she's younger than me by a good 25 years. But I look at that and I go, are you serious? Is that how you feel about your country and your Constitution? Do you know why people can have that kind of an opinion about our Constitution and the founding of our country? They can have it because they've never learned about it. They don't know squat about the founders. They don't know anything about the Constitution. And if you don't know those things, and you have political parties, political movements that are coming in, and they want this, they want that, they want their particular brand, whatever their politic brand is, promoted. But the less people know about the Constitution, the less questions will be asked. So that's the problem. So I'm looking to see some of your comments on this over in the chat room. Let's see, where are we? Let me get over there. Who was that young lady who used to go out and ask those kinds of questions to people via Facebook? I'm not sure who that was, Carlene. I know that there are several people like PragerU. They have people that go out and ask those kinds of questions all the time. It was interesting when we did the regiment, our red-coated reenacting military group from the 1750s. When the movie The Patriot came out, the Mel Gibson movie, we dressed all up. The theater brought us in, 20 of us in costume, uniforms, and we walked around. We had our muskets and our swords and all of that. This was 1995, by the way, when that movie came out. So you're looking at, there you go. That's 30 years ago, just about 30 years ago. And so things were a little different then, but it was at the Mall of America theaters. And so we started each performance of the movie. They brought up the house lights. People didn't know what was going on. House lights came up and our troops all marched in, red coats, kilts, muskets on our shoulder. marched in formation, and we lined across the front of the theater underneath the screen. And our captain pulled out a copy of the Stamp Act. He pulled some from the American Revolution, but he read that each one of you in tonight's performance will be required by the king to bring 2 soldiers to your homes, and you must feed them and house them until further notice. And people started to boo, boo. So people got into it. And he's reading off of this manuscript. And he looks when people are booing, and he goes, "Fix bayonets!" And we all took our muskets and chink, 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 and then to shoulder with our bayonets. And so it was a great little bit. And people booed us as we walked out because we were the redcoats. And that was fantastic. That's exactly the reaction we wanted. But what I was going to say was, for the 2 to 3 hours prior, we did this all the way up to the midnight show. And then we got to sit at the midnight show as a group. And for no charge, we got popcorn and candy and pop and got to watch the movie as a group, all in our uniforms. So it was pretty cool. But for in between the beginnings of performances, from like 5 o'clock on, we did this little bit, or we stood out in the lobby. We had our flags there, our British flags, and we had a little tent that we set up, the bell of arms, and different displays that we had up. And we got to mill around with the people. So you had 20, 22 or 23 of us, all in uniforms, 18th century uniform, walking around with the people in the lobby, in line to get candy, just coming into the theater. And we would ask them questions. That's what all of that was lead up to this. Talking about the woman that used to ask questions on the street, we got a chance to ask questions about early American government, and about the French and Indian War, and about the American Revolution of people. And we're doing it in our accents. We're all Scotch, and we're talking in our heavy brogues, and we're more practiced back then than I am now. But we'd ask people simple questions like it's 1776, because the movie's about the American Revolution. So we just moved our group up 17 years from the French and Indian War to the American Revolution, which they say the French and Indian War, by the way, was the beginning of the American Revolution. And so we would ask questions about the Revolution, about who is the king in England, who's your king. We'd ask who was your first president. In other words, we'd ask all kinds of questions like that, in character, just to see what people knew. And there were a lot of people that were abysmally poor with their knowledge of American history. Now, that, of course, was in a fun setting. So why would it be a bad thing? Can somebody posit for me an opinion as to why these professors, what's really behind that? Do they really think that it's indoctrination of students to teach them American history? So Steve Clark says, I bet no one could tell you what river that George Washington crossed during the Revolution. Yeah, what river? The legend says he threw a coin across this river. The myth, you could say. They crossed in the winter. What was this river they crossed? If you asked that question, I bet you people wouldn't know that. And I don't remember the questions. We had a whole bunch of questions we made up for everybody to ask while we were there. And that's almost 30 years ago now, so I don't remember all the questions we asked. So this article, for what these professors are resisting in North Carolina, this legislation, to have 3 credit hours, only 3 credit hours, required course for people to learn, students to learn about the American Revolution, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and so on. And they're opposed to that as indoctrination, as force feeding. And so this is what prompted me to ask the question, is America in devolving? Is our country devolving? Is our American culture devolving? And is it devolving because, number one, we don't know what we're all about anymore? And I think that that's at the core. I wanted to tell you a story that illustrates this perfectly from a totally different angle. Something that happened to me yesterday. And I'm going to give you just some highlights on it and talk about why I think that this story I'm about to tell you is a symbolic or illustrative of the decline of American culture. And American culture is declining because we don't know anything about America anymore. We don't know what we stand for. It's like the old, I don't know who sang it. Somebody might know. Back in the late 80s, maybe early 90s, I think, there was a song. It was on MTV. I was watching it on MTV. And there was a singer. I don't know who it was. I want to say Kurt Cobain, but I don't think it was. But there was a singer. He was sitting on at least for part of the video, sitting on a stool in a black studio with a spotlight on, playing the guitar. There's a TV flashing images of things that happened throughout the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. And the song stated something about, I have nothing to believe in. It was a cynical, heartfelt, cynical look from a young musician saying, I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't have anything to believe in, because they started losing touch with what they should be believing in, especially as a citizen of this country. Goddess Justice says, that is, of course, Mir, my friend Mir. She says, I've actually been asking many people why learning more about American history and how it affected and continues to affect people of color, but they get upset and start talking about woke bullshit. Now, I will say this. I have an answer to that, Mir. I think that there are certain narratives that have been put together that have found to be lacking. It's pushing a narrative of its own. It's not just teaching fact. History is teaching fact. You can add layer upon layer of opinion on top of it. The opinions don't change history. And I think some of that stuff, maybe we should have a show dedicated just to that and have some conversation in the captain's cabin afterward for critical race theory, CRT. And I think it's woefully deficient. And it's looking at, it's like, I know the whole, what was it? The 1699 project? Is that what it was? They're saying that we were importing slaves from Africa since 1699 in this country. Well, the truth of the matter is that we weren't. And there's a lot of detail to that answer, but that was one of the cornerstones of some of this teaching. And that's just one item, one singular item. I think you merge it with American studies. We learned an awful lot about slavery and the black condition between history and social studies classes in the public school. And it was all integrated in with all the rest of our history. It's part of who we are, for good or ill. The demise of Native American culture was due to European culture in this country. That's part of our history. The American Civil War is part of our history. And so, and the black culture that exists today in this country is a result of atrocious things that happened in our history. But which our history also tells us was something that we abolished. We weren't the first, we were the second. Might have been the third. Some people argue about second or third. England was the first. We were the second. And, of course, I haven't prepped any material to talk about this cogently. But I will tell you this, too. Now, not everybody can do this. This is just a personal anecdote. when we were down for my daughter's wedding in South Carolina. What city were we in? Not Charlotte. That's North Carolina. That's where they live now, in North Carolina. South Carolina. Damn it. It's a seaport town, big in the Civil War. I'm just spacing on the name. Somebody spit it out. You know what it is. Charleston, South Carolina. And we went to the museum, which is the old slave market there. The building is still there with the arch and some of the old painting on the bricks. And that is now a museum there, on the Slave Market Museum. And we took our kids through there, and we got a chance to show them a lot and talk with them a lot about it. Native American culture. I want my kids to learn that. And we more teach that than they teach it in school. There's also the American Revolution. What do my kids know about that? The Holocaust. My daughter, Rowan, asked me not long ago about the Holocaust. And I talked about that on this show. She said, that happened? Did that happen during your lifetime? I said, no. It ended about 15 years before my lifetime started, though. I said, it wasn't that long ago. And we talked about the Holocaust. And she said, could that happen again? I said, it could. And she got teary-eyed. That scared her. And I said, look, that could happen anywhere if we don't learn from history. And so, I want to teach my kids more about that. So, Mir, I think I want to do a show on that, and specifically tackle CRT, talk about it, I'd love to have somebody in here that talks it well and knows about it and is a proponent of it. I am against it, but I'm not thoroughly educated about it either. I've just heard enough tidbits and enough highlights that I say, I have a problem with that being taught in schools the way it's being taught. So that's my take on it. And I'm sure you and I would disagree on that. But we'll have to talk about that some more. I also have Uncle Dave says, history is not just a collection of dusty old dates you need to memorize. History is the ledger of our world. That's exactly it. That's a good way to put it, Dave. Amir says, I'll definitely look forward to that show. Me too. I gotta look into that and get my facts on a piece of paper so I know what I'm talking about. Beth Kirkham says CRT is an academic concept that is more than 40 years old. Sure. I'm okay with that. Doesn't make it accurate. So, and I find that anybody that wants to kind of take down the argument of CRT or the necessity of it and say, look, there's something deficient with this. It either needs to be fixed or we need to do something better. And so when you talk about that kind of a thing, you got to be very careful about stepping on toes, hurting feelings, and so on. It's really hard to take something that is so emotionally charged and talking about it just black and white, the facts, so we can understand what we're talking about and understand what this thing is really all about. I was looking at what Kat was saying, and I don't know the context. I'm sorry, Kat. It's an interesting post. How she survived because her father forced her to put on a pair of ski boots when they were taken away. That's I'm not sure what you're all talking about with that one. That sounds interesting, whatever it is. Steve said he'd love to see that show as well. So I want to tell you about a little, and this was part of what wanted me to talk about this topic tonight as well, is something that happened to me yesterday. And I'm going to be very careful how I word some of this. This is all from my perspective. Remember, any story I tell you, it's a story about conflict. And any story I tell you is going to be colored woefully by my bias and my side of the event. So, here's what came down yesterday. I went to pick up my daughters, Rowan, 11 years old, and Ellery, 8 years old, from the park. They were hanging at the park with their friends. And there were games going on, school games, and it could have been school games. It could have been softball or something. I don't know what it was. I wasn't even paying attention. It was in all the fields around us. So there's all kinds of noise, all kinds of traffic, all kinds of kids running around in the park in the middle and stuff like that. So I went to pick up my kids, and I see Ellery, the 8-year-old. She's crying. She's got skinned up, scratched up knees and bruised. And I'm like, what happened? And they're all over the top, just excitedly trying to tell me what happened. And they said, well, some boy put Ellery in a chokehold and threw her to the ground. Now, before I get into any details, what does that tell you when a schoolboy puts somebody in a chokehold or a headlock and throws him to the ground? A 5th grader doing this to a 2nd grader. What's the first thought that comes to your mind? There's somebody who is poorly educated at home. There's somebody that probably, if you were to write a profile, probably lower middle income, probably from a home without a dad. These are all the things that race through your mind. Now, most of those were incorrect, but those are the things that we have stereotyped and we see. So the big question is, I said, who were these kids that did this? Who did this? It's all those boys standing over there. There's a big boulder in the park, and there are 4 guys standing up there on the boulder all messing around. And I said, only you get in the van. I said, I'm going to go over and have a talk with these boys. And they're all of them maybe anywhere from 5th and 6th grade, I'm thinking, from the looks of them. So I walk over. When I was that age, if an adult male approached us and wanted to talk to us, you stopped and you listened and you did what they said. So I approached, and all of a sudden the 4 boys scatter. They see me coming, they scatter. And one of them wasn't quite fast enough. And Ro was standing back. She says, he's the one that did that to Ellery. And I said, dude, I said, what's up with what you did? I said, do you want to tell me what happened? And he said, well, your daughter hit me on the head with a water bottle, which is abuse, and I had to, it was self-defense. He's claiming self-defense, right? It's self-defense. And I said, so that gave you in your mind the permission to grab a 2nd grade kid around the neck and throw them to the ground because she hit you with a water bottle? I said, let me guess, it was a plastic water bottle. So that's all the story I got out of him. And he's trying to smart off to me. He's just in the 5th grade. He's trying to smart off to me. And I said, I'm going to tell you something. I said, I need to talk to your parents. I said, because that is the bullshittiest bullshit story I've ever heard. And he's like, and he turns and he walks away from me. And I'm not going to go chasing him down. But this is the respect level of kids. So the first thing that came to my mind, is this the decline of American culture? Is this just an individual doing something stupid and being stupid? Or is this an individual that's doing something stupid and being stupid because this is what our society has become? There's no respect for adults from kids. Oh, I'm talking in generalities. It's okay. And I did say to this kid before he ran off, I said, so you're saying it was okay to choke my daughter and throw her to the ground because she hit you with a water bottle? Really? And of course, I learned more of this story later. He and the other 3 boys were messing with my girl, and they took her water bottle. They stole it from her, and she's chasing, give it back, give it back. And they took and they threw it into the boys' bathroom at the park. Because it's a girl. You can't go in there. You're a girl. And she went in and got it anyway. And she came out and they're mocking her, and she hit the kid. She said, right back here, behind the ear. She hit him with her water bottle. And she said, Dad, I barely touched him. And of course, everybody's going to say that. And then that's when he proceeded to do what he did. So I'm ready to go, take these kids home. Still, the park was full. It was only about 7 o'clock. It was still very bright outside. Dad, can we stay for a little bit longer? I said, sure, and I'll come and get you. I'll come and get you in a half an hour. We're only 3 blocks from the park. So a half hour later, I come back. And again, Rowan's running up to me. The girls are running. Their friends are running up to me. And that kid's mom came. The kid who attacked Ellery. And she came and she was chewing us all out, yelling at us, telling us we were to blame and all of that. And I said, really? I said, is she still here? Yeah, that's her right there coming down the path with the boys. I said, everybody get in the van. I'm going to go talk to her. And so I see her coming and we're walking down the path. And I will say this, not for any other reason, not for a derogatory reason, not for a reason to diminish her, but to say the descriptor. Again, you see things and you think things. She was visually very heavy. And I'm going to say that she had really big boobs with the heaviness. It wasn't attractive big boobs. It was the heaviness. And she had what looked like bleach blonde hair that she had colored light purpley blue. And so this was her general appearance. And the first flash in my mind was, I got it now. Trailer trash. That was the first thing that went through my mind. Yes, I was being prejudgmental. So stereotyping in my head. So as I see her coming, I'm walking toward her and I said, ma'am, are you this boy's mother? She said, yes. I said, can we have a word? I said, there was an incident that took place. Oh, I know all about it. And she starts screaming at me. And I'm like, hold on a second. And she had an older son with them as well, who was an older teenage boy, maybe 10th, 11th grade. He mouths off to me in front of his mom, swears at me and says this is all bullshit. You're full of bullshit. And he walks toward their car. And I cut off I said to the woman, I said, hold on a second. And I turned to him and I said, you're still a kid. I'm an adult. I said, don't talk to me that way. Number one, I said, this is an integrity and a character issue, a respect issue. I said, where do you think you have the right to talk to me that way? And he got kind of quiet after that. But then all of a sudden, his mom bulldozes her way between us. And by the way, the tone of voice I was using, pretty much the tone of voice I'm using right now. Barges her way between us and starts screaming at me for, don't you lay into my boy. That's my son. I will stand up for my son. It's like you almost, I'm the mama bear. And, it was, if it hadn't been so serious, it would have been kind of comical. Now, the reason I brought up her body shape and all of that, she's standing right in my face and she's leaning her body against my body. Her stomach and her big boobs all pressed against me, literally pressed against me. Not just brushing against me and I'm exaggerating. She was up against me and she's in my face and she's doing this at me. And I don't remember everything that was said, but one of the things I did say, I said, ma'am, you need to take a step back. I said, you are leaning right up into my body. Well, that's because I'm defending my son. And I said, no, that is not. As I said, it's because you're being hostile. And I said, you need to, and I asked her again, you need to back up. And I wasn't going to take a step backwards. Call it what you will. That's a sign of relinquishing ground in the argument. And I wasn't going to be the person that said, I am stepping backwards because I'm afraid of you. I wasn't afraid of her, and I was showing her that. She was trying to instill fear because I was attacking her boy for being disrespectful to me. And I said, no. I said, you know what the issue here is? The issue with you or your older son and I said, is disrespect. I said, he spoke to me disrespectfully. I said, when I was his age, we wouldn't dream of talking to an adult that way. And I said, the problem with your younger son, I said, my daughter hit him on the head with a plastic water bottle and he puts her in a chokehold and throws her to the ground, scuffs up her legs and knees. I said, what I'm seeing here are two sons of yours that have acted irresponsibly, with a lack of integrity and a lack of character. And I said, that is what the problem is here. And that's why I'm approaching you, is that you need to have a talk with your son for what he did to my daughter. And meanwhile, she's just screaming at me the whole time. We're getting a small group of people that are gathering around us. Small. There had to be over 200 people at that park doing the games, playing, audience, 100 cars in the parking and all down the street. And we're out in the parking lot is where we are to the park. Small. Don't think like a mall parking lot. It's a small park with a couple of fields and a small parking lot and then up and down the whole side street there. And so I said, the problem is, as I see it right now, I said, is what you are doing to me right now. Oh, and she started throwing out, by the way, the catchwords again. You're abusing my son. You are, what else did she say? He was acting in self-defense. And I repeated to her again. I said, as I said to the boy earlier, I said, self-defense. Now that's interesting. I said, self-defense is usually invoked when you feel that bodily harm is coming to you or you're in fear of your life. I said, was your 5th grade boy in fear of his life from my 2nd grade daughter who hit him with an empty plastic water bottle? I said, is that what we're talking here? I said, you're using a lot of political catchwords. And I said, I'll give you one right back. I said, the fact that you are still pressed up against my body, screaming in my face, and we were literally this close. I said, the fact that you are pressed up against my body after I've asked you twice to take a step backward. And I said, you have to take this step backward because you're the one who got here and did that. I said, aren't you violating the same exact thing you say that I'm violating by, you say I'm abusing your son by telling him to act with a little more respect. Then I'm abusing your son by telling him to not beat up on little girls. And it's right over her head. She didn't even get any of that. Because I said, you know what? You're telling me that your sons did this and I was acting this way when in fact you're the one doing it. And I said, the very fact that you would do this right here, right now, with your body up against mine, screaming in my face, tells me exactly why. All I need to know about why your son beat up a little 2nd grade girl and your other son mouthed off to an adult in disrespect. I said, that's all the answers I need. And by then, there were a couple of people. Somebody said somebody knew who I was. out in that audience. I didn't recognize him, but somebody said, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Roberts. The woman, she says, walk away. Just walk away from it. I said, I will. And I said, I'm going to make a point if I can. And then a young man, he looked like a young dad, maybe in his early 20s. And he came up and he kind of patted me and he goes, hey man, just walk away from this. Walk away from it. And I said, you know what? And I patted him back on the shoulder. I said, you're right. I'm done. And I said, thank you. Thank you for stepping in. I appreciate that. And not just filming it. So I went home. Things were fine. I wasn't worked up. I wasn't like, oh, my adrenaline's up. Now I got to kick something. There was nothing like that going on. And by the way, I just talked through the end of the show, telling this story. So radio audience, I should have said goodbye a few minutes ago. So we're officially in the captain's cabin now. Hopefully anybody listening on air is going to come over. They want to hear the end of the story. So there it is. It's done. It's gone. I told Rainey about it. And later in the afternoon, was that? It had to be today because this happened yesterday. In the early afternoon today, we get a phone call, and it's the police. The police wanted to talk to me about the incident at the park yesterday. I said, sure, let's talk. And he asked what my version of the events were. I said, well, I'll tell you. And I told him basically the story I just told you with a little more salient detail. And he said, do you believe you were being acting? He was talking, what he's talking about is I might get cited for disorderly conduct. I said, well, my take on the disorderly conduct thing, I said, if you want to blow it up into disorderly conduct, I said, it was an argument between two parents that lasted between 3 and 5 minutes, and it was over. It took place in the parking lot. And he said, well, there were people all around. I said, there were about 8 adults around and a few kids, in the 40-foot outer circle around us. And so I said, I don't think we drew a lot of attention. I said, there's still 100 kids up there playing games that don't even know this took place, that are louder than we were. I said, so do I see it as disorderly conduct? No. I see it as an argument between two parents. And I said, in my opinion, one of those parents was in the wrong. And I said, we'll leave it there. And so we talked a little bit more. And he said, well, you might be cited and you might have to go to court. He says, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, is the way he started that. He says, but you might have to show up in court for this before a judge. And I said, happy to. I said, go ahead. If you need to cite this, if you find after your investigation that you need to cite us for this, I said, I will happily present my case before a judge. I said, at least somebody won't be yelling in my face and I'll be able to present my case. And I said, bring it. I have no, and I wasn't being smarmy. I said, I'm not saying this to be smarmy, but I said, bring it on. Let's go. Let's get it before a judge. If you think it needs to go that far, if you deem your investigation to have you rendering the decision that we should have to go to court over this, I said, then please do, because I'll be more than happy to present my case. And he was saying to me, he said, what was your demeanor, do you think? I said, I thought I was pretty calm when I started. I said, did I yell? Yes. I said, I raised my voice. I said, but one thing you'll find that's different between me and the other person, I said, I didn't call her any names. I didn't swear at her, although I said I let loose a couple of prime expletives. And because I told her at one point, I said, this is really all about fucking bullshit, is what it's about. I said, you need to take care of your sons. You need to lecture your sons. Your son needs to apologize to my daughter. It's that simple. The rest is bullshit. I said, that was kind of my demeanor, I told the cop. And he says, oh, well, no, I think you're kind of contradicting. I have a lot of witnesses that said you were both shouting at each other. I said, that's the truth. We were shouting. I said, do you know why I was shouting? I said, because I couldn't hear myself think over the sound of the crowd playing the game and her yelling in my face, leaning up against my body. And I said, I shouted to say, I need to get a word in here. I said, to walk away, would that have been better judgment? Maybe, maybe not. Everybody goes, well, to walk away is the best judgment you can have. No, it's not always necessary to walk away. It sometimes is necessary to let the situation de-escalate. You had a hostile person in my face. So again, after 3-4 minutes, I walked away from that. And so he says, well, what do you think should happen from this point? I said, what do I think should happen? Nothing. I said, it was two parents in a park one of whom's kids acted badly. Two of whose kids, one of the parents' kids acted badly. And there was a confrontation. And one of those people walked away from the confrontation. So that was me. I made my point and I left. And I said, so what should happen next? I said, nothing. What's there to have happen? Well, disorderly conduct. I said, well, if you need to file that, file it. And again, I said, I'll show up in court. So there you go. That's what happened to me yesterday. And it got me to thinking today, this kind of behavior is indicative of a society that has lost touch with its soul and its heart. Kids who will mouth off to it. We had it in the 60s and the 70s when I was a kid. It happened, but it wasn't a regular thing. It was an irregular thing. This is what happens. This is how society devolves. When a woman like this can act that way without repercussion in public. So maybe there needs to be repercussion. I think I told the cop, I said, I think I did say to him, I said, maybe you should slap her with a citation. And, when he said about the videos, you've contradicted, you said you were calm and witnesses said you were yelling too, and that there are videos. I said, my daughter was standing on the sideline. She took a video. I said, I haven't even watched it yet. That's how interested I was in it afterwards last night. And I've heard that other people, somebody on the local Facebook page to our town had said something about a video and had sent a video to my wife. And they had a good conversation about it. And so I watched the video. I still had the cop on the phone. I said, here, we've got this video coming up right now. Let me watch it. And I watched it, folks, and genuinely, you could hear me upset. But my wife, even my wife, who is the quickest critic I have, she's my wife, of course, quickest critic I have. And she said, I didn't even hear you yelling at anybody there. And she told the cop on the phone, she said, he was talking the way he talks all the time. She said, he has a big voice and a big person, and he projects. She's got a diaphragm. He said, he's got a diaphragm that's twice the size of mine. And she laughed. And she said, I didn't even hear him yelling. And he said, could you have her send me that video? And yeah. So Rainey gave him he gave Rainey the email. And the woman sent it right away. And he said to me, the cop said, no, don't think that no news is good news. You might not hear anything before you get a summons to appear before a judge. And again, I said, okay, I am okay with that. I said, I am not afraid to stand in front of a judge and talk about this story. It's that easy. Nothing to hide. Oh, and I said, the contradiction, I said, you're saying it's contradicted by the witnesses, my calmness? I said, I told you I started out calm. I approached it with a calmness, professionalism, and not calling names, not doing anything like that. I said, did Did I end up yelling back at her? Yes, I did. I said, but I still believe my yelling and my anger came out of a base of calmness and professionalism. I said, there's a difference, officer. And, most of the police are usually used to dealing with people that you might say are people who cops deal with a lot of scofflaws. And so that's what they're used to dealing with. And I did say to the cop at one point, on that point, I said, now you're a cop. I said, I'm sure there are times now, of course, you're under official duty to protect and serve. I said, but as a cop, have you ever been in a situation where you entered professionally and calmly? We're going to take care of whatever this matter is, a domestic, a whatever, a fight. And eventually, I said, haven't you ever been in a place where you've had to say, hey, lady, hey, man, step back and shut up, or I'm going to cuff you and put you in the car? I said, have you ever had that? Have you ever gotten angry at somebody, officially angry? Because, God damn it, now I got to take out my cuffs. I got to fight this person. I got to scuffle with them. I said, that's precisely what happened to me, although I was not there under official pretense, other than I am that little girl's dad. And to me, I said, that is as official as what you're doing on a different level. And I said, so did I start off calm and professional and get angry? Yeah, I did. Not governed by my anger. I said, but I did get mad. And I did raise my voice. And I got no problem with that. So is it a crime to raise your voice? Oh, Randall, he said, well, part of disorderly conduct is loudness. I said, if loudness is the sole criteria you're going to use, you're going to have to issue 200 tickets to the people playing games because they were louder than I was. I said, doesn't that loudness in disorderly conduct have to go hand in hand with other points of what defines the breaking of the law with disorderly conduct? So anyway, I got Michael is sitting in the wings here. Let's bring him in. Sorry, I want to finish that story before I brought you in.
I'm just sitting here enjoying the story. But it is what you said, the fall of our. I always said America's the new Rome. It is.
It is.
It is. We got a wannabe dictator, emperor, just fiddling while Rome burns. I've worked on college campuses. I worked on UNC, and some of the things I saw at UNC, it looked like Babylon or what was it? Solomon Gomorrah. It was just, and it didn't.
Pillar assault.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. I could not get out of there quick enough.
I think Josh Kemp, a cop, does have to witness it, but he's going on witness testimony. And it seemed to me that the witnesses were pretty much, even the woman didn't know us that had posted something about it in the community page this morning. She said about the incident that took place at the park last night. And she didn't know me from anybody. She was a friend of one of the fellow scout leaders with my wife for scouts. And and I would be willing to wager that these other boys aren't in scouts. Just saying, not the scouts is a panacea for anything, but it does have some weight in how families operate out there, how they're perceived. But I said, my wife is a scout leader, and one of the other scout leaders had a friend who had video and commented on it. Didn't post the video, but commented on it on the community page. And I read that. Rennie called it up. We read some of it to the cop on the phone. And she was like, you know what? This guy was thoroughly in his right to an hysterical woman. And because his little girl got beat up by a bigger, older boy. So there it is. There's that situation.
But you know what's crazy? Everybody's got a camera in their hand anymore.
I know.
And everybody wants to be a reporter.
Yep.
Yes, and when you just tell me that, I got a friend in Montana. He got into it with some people that was disrespectful at one of the local stores, and they have like a little community page, and it was like 50-50, and that goes back to culture divide or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he is right to stand up with somebody disrespecting. Oh, if you don't like it, leave. Oh, elderberry. And well, I said, but we are devolving. They say, what is it? Tough times make tough people. Easy time makes soft people. And right now, we had a lot of good times, and these people have got so used to being coddled. Let me scream my opinion. Let me scream. Hey, Steve. Hey, let me scream till it makes your ears hurt. The louder
Mm-hmm.
I talk, the more I'm right. And I have figured out a long time ago, if you got to raise your voice and start screaming, you have probably already lost the argument.
Yeah.
And
Well, I told her I slipped that in something very close to that when she was yelling at me. I said, the fact that you were standing here screaming at me tells me a lot.
yeah, I don't know how it was in your house, but where I grew up, if I got in trouble at school, the teacher called my parent and they looked at me, hey, Michael, what did you do? And now if a kid gets in trouble at school, mommy, because most times there's not a daddy in the picture, they show up and says, little Johnny will not do that. I dare you to think.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you got to realize little Johnny's a prick.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I play online games. I play Oculus, and sometimes you can tell they have spent the $300 for a damn babysitter, and they dump them off for society to raise, their children, and they wonder
Yeah.
how they come out fucked up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I remember, the inner cities. These men worked their whole life. Sure they died rich, but they built these empires of like steel and concrete and stuff like that, and all these big industrial cities have went to wastelands. They are deserts basically, money desert, food desert, healthcare desert. It is. Like I said, we are decaying from within because that's like you
We
talk
are.
about the human body. The day you're born, you start to decay. People just
Yes.
decay at different rates. And I can see that with our nation. When you have people up top that don't know how to run nothing, it's like what's this marijuana won't hurt them. It just gets them a little stone.
Go on.
It's laced with something. Oh boy, that. But I get Scotty handling. But no, I must have missed part of the comments. I was watching on the TV. I don't get the comments. But no, it is really, really kind of devolved, and I can tell.
Yeah.
I'm 50 years old, and like I said, even though my parents didn't like each other, they was both in the house. Then, like you said, if a grown person said to you, they didn't even have to be a male. If an adult spoke to you in the neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to stop and listen because you damn
That's
sure
it.
you damn sure didn't want them to make the phone call for when you got home. Because
Yes.
you'd have got it there, then you'd have got it again when you got home. Oh, you made me look bad. Like I don't know
Yeah.
how to
Yep.
raise you.
Yeah.
And even my grandmother, it goes back to my grandmother was the patriarch of her family. And I hear all these things, the patriarchism or what's the word I'm looking for? They always say that now they got a whole new catchphrase for it now. And they act like that the only person in a family could be could be a male that was a patriarch.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother was like 4'9", 105 pounds.
She was the matriarch of the family.
The matriarch, yeah, and and she runs shit with an iron glove, and they say, oh, only men can have. No, that's bullshit.
By the way, Dave makes a point here. Kids growing up at festivals and rendezvous, that's what we did, the Renaissance and the rendezvous circuit, the historical stuff, don't behave this way because they know they'll get their ass handed to them if they do. And I wish he was here and listening. But Dave, do you remember at Big Island Rendezvous one year? It was Luke Acord, who's been on the show. He's got a big white beard like Dave. And we saw him. He's all dressed in Revolutionary War era clothing, like a merchant. And he's got the tricorn hat on and the big beard. But he had some kid who was also in costume. He had him by the ear
Oh, the whole. Oh,
Get him by the ear, and he's dragging him across sight.
Oh, phew.
And he's taking big steps, and he's telling me, you're going to go over there, and we're going to take care of this right now, and you're going to apologize with all we heard as it trailed off into the crowds. Dave is absolutely right. There was hell to pay because they were people that believed that parents discipline their kids, parents raise their kids, and parents teach their kids how to live.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke Acord was having none of that day.
And and your radio wife, and she says, manners are free.
Yeah.
Bad breeding. I have heard that from her. She's like, well, Michael, I think it's just bad breeding, and it spans not only our nation but other nations. And but I seen Randall, what's it, Flag? I ain't got my glasses on. I need to borrow Scotty's glasses. Says, too many live on the internet. They have no ability to communicate civilly like a human interaction.
Yeah.
And that's true. Like I said, I play Oculus a lot. I do a lot of IT stuff here, and I got into that. Business partner. He's like, hey, you need to try this. You'll like it. I thought, I don't want nothing to do with that. And after I started playing poker with it, I'm like, shit, I like this. But then the influx of the kids, and you're supposed to be 21 or over for a lot of the things that you play on here. And not only are they dumping their kids off on somebody else to babysit, because we pay good money for this. But it's like, the society, the people that you can run into, they could be anybody, hell, they could be an axe murderer, and these people don't know. There's no
right.
There's no way to monitor it, and it goes back to lack of. I'm trying to get right. He keeps moving the thing here. I've set up my background.
Sorry,
and
the background looks nice and close in on you now. So
yeah, and
nice sunset going on there.
Yeah, I think I got. I don't know. Took some medication one night for like the flu or something or another, and next thing you know, Amazon dropped that off.
Nice.
I have no
Thank
idea.
you, Amazon.
I have no idea.
Get well, Mike. Here's a blanket.
Yeah, no, it's actually really thin. It's like silk, and because I was thinking, to build my office up for that.
Oh, it's that microfiber stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it's very I generally
lightweight and easy to ship.
There it is. Yep.
Oh yeah, and when I get everything coming in, because I want to eventually, because this is a laptop, because I figured out sound or whatever. Yeah. What is it? Sounds, or what is it called? Soundstream or whatever the hell's called?
StreamYard. Yeah.
StreamYard. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a long day. But when all that comes in, I got to find my big mic like you have there, and I'm gonna get a good camera for the desktop in there.
Yeah.
So everything is right there, and it won't have the echo, and you can handle the lighting better with the ring lights and all that, which Dave knows all about lighting. Lighting is everything. When you get older, you want low light and low definition. And when you're
going on at the moment,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And when you're young, you don't mind the 4K, 8K, whatever they come out with now.
Well,
Dave's camera. Let me see if I.
What's your thoughts, Dave?
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, as far as that goes, the problem in filmmaking is the camera technology has surpassed what the rest of the technology is at. So I was watching something that was shot in ultra high def, and you could see the zigzag stitching in the period costumes that shouldn't have been there, and you could see the webbing around the fake mustache that shouldn't have shown up, and just a whole bunch of stuff. And it's just like, it has gotten the sharpness is such that the rest of the stagecraft that was fine before with analog systems and the old cameras and stuff doesn't cut it anymore. So you have to think of the fact that the camera is looking at you like you're 2 inches away, and the detail has to be there for that. So,
well, I was going to say, I can tell that y'all have a paid version of StreamYard, because mine, it only gives me like 480 or something free or something other. I need to pay for that, because I can tell his is 4K and I can tell yours is 4K compared to me being in the middle. It's the pictures, which is good, because with the crow's feet and stuff like that, we kind of want to see.
That's right. Well, I like the blurry camera because it makes me look younger.
Yeah, if I'm on my laptop, I'm all blurry like that too.
Like so, built for processing.
It sounds like a lot of people in the chat room grew up on farms, and they're talking about discipline on farms.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Carlene wants to know where the queen is. Mila, come here. You don't want your 5 minutes of camera time? She looked at me like, no. Come here. Come
Ha.
here. Oh.
Hey, baby.
Wake up. You're all right. Well, let's turn the camera around.
She always cocks her head when I do that.
Yeah.
If she's listening.
What? Oh, bless his heart. Oh, wake up.
Hi, baby.
She's like, but I was sleeping so well. Let me see if I can get it down here a little bit. There we go. See if I can get her into the camera. Wake up. Want a treat?
Oh, do I?
Maybe in a minute. Nope. Well, come over here.
Dude's a farm girl. Steve Clark has a ranch. Barbie D. Did you grow up on a farm too, Barbie D? I wasn't sure if I saw that. Carlene Smith. Grandfather who never had grandparents who were farmers. Did you grow up on the farm too? Josh Kemp's grandparents adopted me when he was 2, and they worked a farm. He did that every day after school. Look at all the farmers we have in here. Now, I never lived on a farm. I had a ranch for a while, but it wasn't a working ranch. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm a rancher, I'm Yellowstone Junior. No, it wasn't like that. Nothing like that. But man, we did have the drama though, didn't we?
I was talking about, the matriarch, whatever. That's what my grandmother did. She ran a rather large farm. We had tobacco, we had gardens, and cattle, beef cattle. And now she wanted it run a certain way. And if she didn't get her way, they was hell to pay.
Yeah.
And there was 8, they had 8 boys, three older and 5 with her. So there's 8 brothers all together. And you know how boys are growing up, especially older and young, that's always want to fight. My grandmother get between them and just caned the shit out of them. You're not going to hurt each other. And what always got me, and I always make this joke, me and my brothers are cousins would fight. She'd come over and take his stick and beat the hell out of him. She's like, we do not hit in here. I'm thinking, boy, that's an oxymoron. You just beat the shit out of everybody, but yet we don't hit in this family.
Right.
I'm got a big old whelp. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
But, it's like, yeah, okay. Everybody's like, oh, the Army was rough. I was like, no, hell, the Army was a breeze after her. Shit. But yeah.
And I will say I ran across a trove of old pictures that I had. Some of them I've never seen. Some of them are from, 20 plus years. Well, 20 years ago with Rainey and I. And I posted a few pictures, old pictures, and I got a few more. But those things sparked such wonderful memories of times that are different than they are now. And there was something you said that just made me think of that. And I don't know why I was going to bring that up, because I could be down here just immersed in these old photos. Not super old. We're talking 18 to 20 years old when we were first dating, just before we were dating, just after we were dating. And
1803, Dave.
And
whoop.
And so so I would come up out of that glow of seeing those old memories and having that all sparked to my wife reminding me that I can't make decisions on my own. And so it's it's like, wow, things have sure changed in the last 20 years. I still love my wife and she still loves me, but our dynamic is different than it was 20 years ago, obviously.
Oh, there you go.
So here we are.
Let's talk about the sugar beets. We raised the sugar cane here last year, and did the mill where you had to run it around and around. Then they brought another one in that we hooked it to the PTO on the tractor. And a few things stuck out in my mind with that. Josh wants to do it so his family, his kids can learn heritage farming. And then the other part was, we wanted to bring all the older people back into the community. But what really got me was they all showed up, eat a hamburger and a hot dog and some potatoes. So I was like, this ain't that bad. We've been up since 4 o'clock in the morning. Then after they all ate and went home after they stirred the molasses for like 5 minutes and got tired, they left. We still had all this to do. And but like I said, farming takes a lot of discipline, and there can only be one. Sure. There can only be one boss on the farm. one boss. But Bowling Sugar beats.
Been and raised on a small town farm, says Carlene. Wish we could go back in time. Wouldn't that be nice? I got that same thing looking at the old pictures of Rainey and I, and thinking, wow, wouldn't it be nice to just go back in time? And
do you ever think you look back on 2000 and think, those were the good old days?
2000 was the good old days. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I mean, Rainey and I met in 2004. Started dating in 2005. Married in 2007.
2000 seems like yesterday.
I know. When you think about it, it was yesterday. But then I look back at these pictures and I see how much we've changed. How much things have changed. I found old, she saved a lot of our correspondence, screenshots, and I found it on CD, screenshots of conversations we had. And I thought there was a point, now Dave, this will almost make you laugh, but there was a point in our relationship where Rainey lacked confidence. And she didn't know what was going on next. You could tell she was a young woman in love that wanted to make sure, are you sure you love me? I said, I'm sure, and this is all in writing and, texting and not phones. It was like, Yahoo Messenger. Remember that?
Yeah.
Everybody had it. So we talked.
I still have Yahoo.
So, but that was so neat to see. And it was so heartwarming to say, now I wasn't a kid back then. I was in my early 40s already. She was in her mid 20s to mid 40s for me. And, but I look at her now and she's all spit and vinegar and confidence. And that's developed over the years. So we change as now I feel like I'm the same person I was. Dave, have I changed much in 20 years? I feel like I'm kind of the same guy.
Kind of the same guy in what sense?
Well, I'm not looking for an expose on it. Just a quick yeah or no. No, but
I think you've grown quite a bit in the last 20 years.
Oh, I think I've grown. I think I'm pretty much the same person though.
That's what I thought. Me too. I'm just a little wider in places.
And I think Rainey is too, but she's become more. She's a mom.
She changed a lot after the kids.
Changed a lot after the kids came.
Motherhood will do that.
And she's like the iron. This is the way it is. This is the law. And it's like,
This is Sparta.
We had that go on today a little bit, today or yesterday.
Oh.
And I said, at this point in our marriage, need I remind you that I don't do orders, I do requests. And she's like, you shut the fuck up. Just do what I asked. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
and,
well, let that be a reminder to you. She doesn't do threats. She does promises.
Yeah. She does promises. So, yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, did you see Kat's comments that her great-grandfather milked cows and farmed with one hand? He lost his other one in a feed grinder.
Oh, wow.
But, anymore, they'd be lined up saying, I need someone to take care of me. But you know what? He made do with what he had left. And rolled. And I think we've lost part of that, too.
Yeah.
And like
people whine and complain way too much about the stupidest crap.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but a
lot of first world problems out there.
And I saw that, and I was like, he must have overlooked that because I can see the comments right there. I'm thinking, holy shit! Did this man is rolling on? He's like, all right, I've hand milked cows, and I've used the machine to milk them, and to be able to milk 4 teats with one hand, no wonder Grandma liked him.
That's an art.
It's like, but he didn't give up. He persevered with what he had, and I seen the cloth diapers. My mom always said I was such a pansy growing up. She said the Pampers broke me out, so she had to do the cloth diapers. She said I was the hardest child that she had. I was in cloth diapers.
Kat, that's what I was going to say too. Before I saw your follow-up statement with the safety pin, said you can't change, of course, the cloth tape diapers because. You can't doing a safety pin with one hand and holding the baby and 2 ends of a diaper. is challenging.
There's a lot of things you learn to do with one hand. That so here's the thing. So I'm taking care of my mom, and one night she's having trouble getting her bra off. She says, "Can you help me take this off?" And I just reach around with one hand and undo, and it's like 4 clasps. It's not like just a 1 clasp or anything.
Yeah.
One hand, real quick, 4 clasps, boom. And she's like, and how did you learn to do that? And I'm like,
Mom, you don't want to know.
Yeah, I can't talk about that to my mom.
He's talking about that, about the class.
I've been good at that for years.
The class. All you got to do is just you grab them, you kind of pinch it, and you go shink.
Yeah.
And it goes swing.
Yeah, that's a funny story.
That is exactly right.
Everybody's talking about the ones in the back. You just reach around. Next thing you know, then some jackass had the idea to put them in the front.
Yeah.
I'm feeling around the back. I'm thinking, I know I'm not stupid.
Yeah. You're going.
I can unlace a corset with one hand too. So
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like,
oh, we got good at doing corsets. Now you more because you made that stuff, but I had girlfriends that had corsets we're talking festival and costumes.
Yeah, sure we are.
It's like you could be talking on the phone, or you could be, I don't know, whatever you're doing, washing dishes with this hand. You reach over and you can undo the corset. How'd you do that? I got practice. So
that's about like lacing your boots. I could be in and out of a full lace boot quick.
Take these 2 fingers and you get them in front of the camera. You just slide them up the laces.
Yep.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need maybe like Jerry Clare said, I need to put on my girdle, pull it up on the side. That's but like I said, we have lost a lot of common sense in our country. We have lost a lot of common values.
We have.
Yeah.
And I tell people, we need to take the warning labels off of everything. If you want to shave next to open flame, wear it out. You'll figure out why you don't do that.
Yeah.
Back in the day, before all these warning labels, do you think back when our forefathers came over, that somebody was over there with a hand thing, coming out of the forest, stamping on an axe, caution, sharp on end. They knew it was fucking sharp on the end.
Well,
yeah, you didn't need a label.
5-gallon bucket has a label on there not to put babies in head first because they could drown.
Yeah, it's like
who puts babies in buckets?
Yeah,
that's what plastic bags are for.
That's what plastic bags are for, right?
Yeah. Hey, we want a cheap alternative, but that's what I'm saying. I read some of the shit on here. It's like this contains small items, may be choking.
Really?
Shit. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, like I said, I forget.
I heard somebody talking today, and I don't remember what I was hearing. If it was something news I had on somewhere or something playing on my phone, but on this very topic, Anita, somebody talking about, what our new generations have lost is that growing up and understanding and doing just fine with having hand-me-downs and having homemade clothes and canning vegetables. And now Rainey she doesn't sew clothes. And we do a lot of hand-me-down clothes. We do a lot of thrift store clothes, things like that. And
especially when kids only lasted them for about 4 weeks before they outgrow them.
Like, right?
Yeah.
When I first got custody of Abby and Bryn, and we're talking, what were they? They would have been roughly 10 years old. And I went to a big garage sale out in, I think it was in Somerset. But I went to a big garage sale, and I found they were selling twin girls' clothes, and I couldn't believe it. The same age as my twin girls. And I spent about, I think if I remember correctly, I spent about $50 buying about $500 worth of clothes.
Yeah.
Because almost all of them were in almost pristine shape. Some of them had tags on them. And they were letting them go really cheap. And I just filled up bag after bag after bag. And of course, they were only 9 and 10 at the time. So They didn't care, but man, I hit the jackpot that day. I cleaned her out.
Just talking about helping out. I helped my mom can pickles and all that. I hate pickles to this day. Everybody's like, "Oh, what made you get at the CS chamber?" They've never stood over a vat of pickles. I seen that thing where she said, "I helped my gram." When I saw gram, I was going to say, "Well, y'all had a different kind of farm if you're weighing it out in grams."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, all
Well,
right."
how'd the tomatoes come out this year? Oh, we got about 4,000 grams.
Tide Pods is all you need to know. That's it. If my mom or dad would have caught me messing, and when we had this conversation before, when everybody talking about gun control and all this, they was 2 big gun cabinets with the keys that hung in them in our living room. You shut off your good guns, and
Yeah.
But I knew if I touched that, the best thing that could have happened to me was a bullet, because they would have beat me within an inch of my life. You knew you did not touch. This is off limits. Look with your eyes and not with your fucking hands. And I heard that a lot growing up. Look with your eyes, not with your hands.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I say that to my kids too all the time.
Look with your eyes.
Well, we got a rule in your house. If it isn't yours,
don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
That's it. And I've had people come in here and they say, "Oh, your house ain't kid friendly." I said, "There's no kids live here."
Doesn't need to be kid friendly.
No, that's what I'm saying. The only thing I'm worried about is the 2 puppies I have running around here.
Tide Pods is all you need to know," said Randall.
He said,
"Kid friendly. They sit in that chair and they don't move, and nothing will kill them."
Is it
right?
There's a story years ago, which it's not like that now, but I had a guy come in. He was coming asking me for a job interview, and he just come in. I was like, "Hey, hold on a second." He said, "What?" I said, "Let me move a gun." He said, "But there's a pillow on the couch." I said, "I know. Let me get that." He said, "Can I sit here?" I said, "No, hang on a second. Let me look behind that cushion." He said, "You have a pillow gun?" I said, "There's one in behind the commode too." I said, "That's the bathroom gun." He's like, "So you can't even take a shit in your house without getting shot?" I said, "They haven't hurt nobody." He said,
"Well, that's what it's there for, so I don't get shot."
That's it.
My
guns ain't hurt nobody.
That was in 2016. He came in. I was like, "Oh, hold on a minute. Don't sit there. Let me get this." And he's like,
"See this?
There it is.
Nice and close, within reach. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, just in case."
Just in case.
On the other side of the desk, there's 4 more.
Yeah,
there's a bucket of daggers not more than 10 feet away from me.
He says somewhere. But no, and that's what I'm telling him, and it's still pretty close that way, But now I've got nieces, nephews, and it's a different, generation now, and I'm closer here on the farm with them, so a lot of that stuff is put out of sight now. I get it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like I said, I have tried to, but they're really good kids. They're not gonna mess with it anyway. But
that's good.
But like you said, look with your eyes, not with your hands. But I'm with him. Thin out the stupid people so they cannot breed. That takes care of the bad breeding.
Big time.
I still get a lot of my clothes at yard sales. Okay, and second, me too.
That's the downside of medical technology, is that stupid people survive now.
Yeah. I look at it like this. Our country has been at war almost since the conception of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And at one time, the manliest of the men will go forth and do battle. And what does that leave to reproduce with the women?
The idiots.
The village idiots.
Yeah.
And
the weaklings. Have you ever watched The Nick? No.
The Nick. Yeah, I've seen it.
Well,
I was thinking of Nip Tuck.
Oh, Nick Tuck.
The Nick. No. What was the Nick? Oh, maybe somebody's talking about it here, huh? Before we wrap for tonight, I want to throw out one question. Totally different topic.
Okay.
Do you think that Joe Biden should get a cognitive test done?
Big time.
Yep. Like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. That test is a little late.
It is.
Yeah, it's like when they say, "Oh, it's like buying the condom for your kid after they come home pregnant."
Now, I thought it was very interesting that yesterday he made his announcement to run for president in 2024 for re-election. But you did notice he did it via a political campaign ad. He didn't get up in front of a live audience.
No, it's pre-recorded so that if he made mistakes, they could re-record it. So,
yep. And so the big question is, does his own party know he can't handle himself in front of people and with people?
Oh, yeah.
And obviously they know this.
They're so terrified of the orange man.
They certainly are.
Oh, guess who's camped out at the White House now? He's dodging the process server for like child support payments. He's behind in child support.
Hunter.
And then he lied on a background report thing to buy a 38 that later was found in a garbage can next to a school. And so he figures if he hides out at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue that they cannot make entrance into the White House to serve him. Yeah, what do you call it, Uncle Dave, when you run into the church and ask for sanctuary?
Sanctuary.
Sanctuary.
Yeah, sanctuary.
Sanctuary.
Hey,
Sanctuary.
So when did?
Thank you, Quasimodo.
You're welcome.
Says DNC does not want Biden to debate RFK. No, we don't. He'd eat him alive.
Yeah.
You know that man. Talking about pen on diapers.
Anita, DNC doesn't want Biden to debate Robert Kennedy Jr. They don't want him to debate Trump. They don't want him to debate DeSantis. They don't want him to have to debate at all. And as a matter of fact,
and Trump and Kennedy are good friends. So
yeah, Trump and Kennedy.
I could see that as a ticket.
I could too. That'd
That'd
be a power ticket.
Yeah, it don't say you have to be the same political party to run.
No, in fact, in history's time, we've had Republicans and Democrats. Because back in the day, when we first started, your vice president was the person that lost to you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For quite a while. You're the second runner-up, so you're the vice president. So if something happens to the first guy, logically, you're going to take over because you had the next number of votes.
Yeah.
To be in the White House. Guy. DeSantis is being sued by Disney. Good luck, Disney.
Yeah.
Good luck. How they had some special status over all the other businesses in Florida, and they think they should keep that. How is that fair to every other theme park and film studio in Florida? It's not.
Mm-hmm. They want their monopoly. That's what it is. They want their monopoly. But no, it's.
Kat says, and I don't want to skip her topic. There's a whole thing with a doctor doing vasectomies on teenage boys without their consent, and he gets away with it. That's a topic we could talk about another time. I got no brain to even get there tonight, but that is one of the problems right now. DeSantis wants to make it a what was it? If you sterilize a child for sex change prior to them being a legal adult and can consent to it as an adult, he's talking about life in prison.
Yeah.
And he's talking about death penalty. Well, wait. What was the death penalty one was for? Was that for sexual abusers?
Was that an abortion or thing?
No. That was for sexual assault of minors.
That's it. So and there's a big question that we'll answer on a different show, but is altering the sex or cutting off the sex junk of either a boy or a girl before the age of consent, is that a crime? I think so.
Well, I think if you don't have their parents' consent, they're not old enough to give consent. They're not old enough to give consent to buy themselves cigarettes. They're not old enough to go to war. They're not old enough to vote. They're not old enough to buy alcohol. How can they be old enough to make a decision like that?
Yeah.
And technically, they're not even old enough to give consent to have sex with somebody.
That's right.
So if you're going to go down that road, then I guess you have to let all these pedophiles out because if they're old enough to make that decision, then they're old enough for that, and give them all a beer and give them some cigarettes, and
There it is.
it's like, what the hell? You can't have some rules and on another side say, oh, well, they don't apply here. But that's the liberals all the way around. Follow the science. You shouldn't smoke. Follow the science. And then you start talking about the COVID thing. Well, we don't follow science on that. There's follow the science. Well, there's only two genders. Well, don't follow that science. It's like,
So, Randall Flagg just said, the DNC said no debates. Now, debates you don't legally have to debate. Anybody can turn down having a debate. But my whole lifetime, the candidates have been debating. Here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. Even that song, it come out in the 60s from Simon and Garfunkel, going to the candidates debate. That's something that's gone on forever. So what justification do you suppose they'd give for saying Joe Biden isn't going to do any debates?
I think they ought to go back to full pistol dueling.
I do too, but why do you think? How do you think the DNC will answer that question to the public, or will they just not? They'll ignore it.
It'll be like,
if they say Joe Biden's not going to debate,
we'll circle back to that. We'll circle back.
What will they use to try to justify that?
Oh, I don't know. That they'll argue that debates don't show anything anymore, and blah blah blah. They'll have a whole list of crap with that, but. Reality is debates always weed out the idiots.
They do.
I look at it like this.
You had one debate, and after that debate, Kamala Harris dropped out because her polls just plummeted.
It's horrible.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, we did it, Joe. No, you didn't.
Well, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. It's 9 minutes to the hour. I could make it 9 more minutes. I could muscle through, but I was tired before I started, so just dragging today. My brain a few hours ago, I was trying to do a simple little thing for Rainey on the computer, and I could not work my way through it. I thought, does dementia set in overnight?
Yeah.
I felt like, I was like, where the hell, what am I doing? How do I make this function? My brain's dead.
Before you jump out of here, I was going to tell him I'm sitting in for KB in the morning, coffee with KB.
Right on.
What time?
9 a.m. 9 a.m.
8 a.m. our time, Dave.
But like I said, I was going to try to do the StreamYard stuff, but I need to get with Scotty to set that up. And so
I can't do it tonight.
It'll just be Facebook in the morning. That's what I told him.
Sure.
But, KB, he's still kind of swelled up with the fluid and stuff, but he's still great spirits. So
that's cool.
I know Kathleen will be there. And like I said, I posted a thing on my Facebook. Go ahead and share it because, like I said, y'all have more friends in the circle than I do. But, they're eventually getting there. But like I said, if y'all want to share that out there, and I'll be up.
Outstanding. Morning coffee with KB. You go over to Michael's page.
Yep.
Michael L. Brewer. And 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And
1 p.m.
6 a.m. Left Coast time. But go on over to his page and look for the Facebook link. He's going to be broadcasting right around 8 a.m. tomorrow morning via Facebook, which is how Kenny always did it anyway. So
yeah, that's what he told me. He said, I'm old school. And he said, like I said, this morning I was going to do it. He called me at 8:30, and this morning was a really, really bad morning because I still got surgery on my back, and like I said, it was all screwed up. So,
oh boy,
I just couldn't pull it off this morning. But sometime tomorrow or the day after the day. Sometime tomorrow or the day after. I'll be on 9 a.m. Then, and I can still do that because when I start school Monday, they are Mountain Time, so that gives me an extra 3 hours.
There you go.
That's it. So that works. And I know Uncle Dave.
Thank you, Anita Palmer.
Do it.
Anita Palmer. She said good night.
Yeah.
Good luck. I'm not too worried about that whole. The story was a story that I told for the sole purpose of illustrating the devolution of our society.
Yep.
If you all didn't catch that, and if you didn't catch it, I can't explain it anymore tonight. Mm-hmm. So I'm almost feeling punch drunk.
Was that today? No, that was an old story, wasn't it?
last night.
What old story? The story I told was yesterday afternoon.
Oh, was it? Okay, I thought
Yesterday
that was an
evening.
older story.
The cop call was today. So, anyway, folks, that's it. That's all we got.
All right,
We're going to
bud.
get out of here. See you later, Michael. Thanks for hanging out.
Yes, sir.
Rest and live long and
Be
prosper.
good, everyone.
And Uncle Dave, we'll see you later.
Yep.
Thanks for being here. And everybody else, I want to thank you for being here. Thanks for giving me your time, spending it here. It's been enjoyable. And I'm going to go sleep off my tiredness. So all of you, all those of you who joined us coming from the radio station, sorry, I worked right over the radio station exit tonight. So anyway, there we go. It is what it is. I'm out of here. All of you, see you next time. Live long and prosper.